Welcome to Bad Dog Comedy TV. It's live comedy on YouTube, and you're watching a very special presentation of Rice, the Asian Movies podcast presented by the Sonar Network. Now give it up in the chat for the hosts of Rice. It's Vong Show, Veronica Antipolo, and Leonard Chan.
Hey, what up, listeners and Bad Dog fans? Welcome to Rice, Asian Movies Podcast, where each week we review an Asian-led film and debate a cultural topic plucked from the movie's themes. As Connor mentioned, I'm Vong Show, official spokesperson for Gay Super Cute Asians, and along with me, we've got Veronica Antipolo and Leonard Chan. So this is a very, I know I talked right through your intros. Usually I give them a chance to say hi, but not today. So this is a very special edition of Rice Asian Movies Podcast. We're streaming live, of course, on Bad Dog Comedy TV in celebration of our officially joining the Sonar Network. And in celebration of this awesome collaboration, we'll be discussing our favorite Asian movies of all time. And before we jump into our favorite Asian movies of all time, let's catch up with our panel. Veronica, what was the most memorable part of your week?
I'm in the May edition of the Reader's Digest Canada. Yes, if you are in your grandmother's bathroom and there's a Reader's Digest, I'm in there with you. Thank you. And also I had a gift card for Loblaws, and I got myself a bag of shrimp.
There you go.
Who's your shrimp guy? You have a shrimp guy?
No, I just saw Pacific Shrimp on sale for $11.99, and I grabbed that sucker up. Like, you're coming home with me tonight.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It's nice that you get to bring something home.
Bottom feeders.
Okay, and Leonard Chan, what was the most memorable part of your week?
Oh man, I got my taxes done, so that's nice.
Oh, that is very nice.
Yeah. I have taxes to pay. I don't have money to pay it, so that's fun. So that's going to be an interesting. Does anybody want to buy a kidney?
I am 2 years behind on my taxes, and they're starting to come for me. So I definitely feel your pain, but I feel like I need to get through Asian Heritage Month and then Pride Month before I have a minute to breathe. And until then, my cell phone is turned off. So that's
so if the government, if the CRA comes ask for your money, it's like, no, I'm doing gay and Asian stuff right now.
That's right.
It's for
come back for your money later.
Yeah, just do what I do. Just when they call you once, you label that number as do not answer. That's what I do.
Oh Lord. So the most memorable part of my week is this morning I did an interview with CBC The National, which is airing tomorrow, Friday, April the 23rd. It's my primetime news debut. I've never done anything that was newsworthy before for National Canadian News. So I am very excited. I get to talk about Asian representation and surprisingly gay representation, because I I thought we were talking about Shang-Chi and Asian representation, but then I probably should have guessed because of my tagline, official spokesperson for gay super cute Asians, that they would ask me a lot of gay questions. But because it's about superheroes, on the spot I froze. I was like, I'd love to talk about gay superheroes, but there aren't any. Like, I don't know what you want me to talk about. Like, my fantasies of, like, Magneto and Professor X that I made up in my brain because there's no real ones. I could not think on the spot, which is not good for a comedian. I'm usually good on my feet, but, like, I was like, is there a gay superhero that I'm, like, missing?
This Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Oh, Lord.
What is that?
You know, Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She was
Is
gay.
that real?
Yes, that was
Yeah,
real.
it's from Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's from
Oh, Deadpool. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Red J. Wade. I was just about to ask. I was like, we need to circle back to this Professor X Magneto fanfic.
You know, it was the only thing I could come up with. I also know that in the comic books, Star-Lord is not straight. He's like fluid sexually or whatever. Cause,
Yeah,
you know,
so is Deadpool.
When you're in space. Yeah, when... You know,
really?
they'll pretty much do whatever walks. But yeah, I did have a lot of Magneto and Professor X
I think it's
fantasies, and in that fantasy, I am Magneto. I don't know why.
Oh,
but
you're Magneto.
So it's like a whole different story for how Professor X got into that wheelchair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, tune in to my segment CBC the National tomorrow.
When you're in space. Hey, you know,
And,
when you're in space, do as the spacemen do. And just fuck.
Cool. So I do want to mention too, you know, I love this collaboration with Bad Dog Theater and Bad Dog Comedy TV. Bad Dog is having a festival called Asian and Funny in honor, of course, of Asian Heritage Month that is coming up. For those who don't know, and you know, don't be upset at yourself if you don't know that Asian Heritage Month is May, because I would say 2/3 of Asians also don't know. But
I'm finding this out right now.
yeah. So the actual festival is May 1st and 2nd at baddogtheater.com/Asian and Funny. The link is right there below. So check that out. And yeah, I just want to thank Bad Dog Theater and Coco Galore, who is the director of Bad Dog Theater, for having us as a part of this live stream. Okay, so now jumping into our topic of the week, let's first head to Leonard. And what are your 5 favorite Asian movies of all time, and why are they your 5 favorite?
Yeah, wow.
Okay.
Defend yourself.
So, you know, like I could say classics like Rashomon, Seven Samurai, Hidden Fortress. I'm not gonna, because I'm not 80 years old. That was the golden age of Asian cinema. But the things, like, I like the stuff that I got to see, like, live in theater, you know, when we could go see things live in theater. So I guess I loved Police Story. So that was a Jackie Chan movie. I loved all the Jackie Chan movies. A Better Tomorrow, which was a Chow Yun-fat movie. So that was John Woo with like the crazy action, which is like really changed how action was done. Princess Mononoke, because I love anime. And Miyazaki is a master. And Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, because I used that movie to convince the girl I was dating at the time, who was Lebanese, that all Asians could fly.
Nice.
And Parasite, just because, man, it won Oscars. So,
Okay, and out of those 5 movies, which movie do you want to, let's dig in more on one of those movies. And so select one of those 5 movies and tell us why that movie is important to you.
I'm going to go with Police Story, just because it was... like Jackie Chan had like a huge influence on me when I was a kid. I was like the hugest Jackie Chan fan. I'd watch a Jackie Chan movie like in theaters, downtown, Chinatown, like Golden Harvest, like the whole thing. And then, then I would be like all hyped up and I'd go out and try to do Jackie Chan stunts and suffer Leonard Chan injuries. It was fun. But the thing about Jackie Chan is like, I don't think anybody has been able to meld action and comedy better than, and he's been able to. He's an absolute master. You know, if you look at like, he's like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin on steroids, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, and he's, the way he made his movies is so different from the way like Americans make their action movies. Cause like everything he shoots is like in a wide angle because he's actually doing the stunts and he actually knows how to fight. So when they do like action movies in America, like every single punch is a different cut and it's like, it doesn't have the same impact, right?
Yeah.
Versus like Jackie Chan, it's about like, cause all action is like action and reaction, right? You hit somebody, boom, they get, you know, their face. And especially with comedy, it's action, reaction, right? So you have, you know, you have to have all that stuff in the same frame. But they don't do that in American, for whatever reason, that's just not how they edit it. And also I think part of it is like the crazy stunts that he does. It's like the number of times you have to practice doing those stunts to get them right and looking good on camera is insane. And the number of takes you have to make is insane. So with Jackie Chan, like he has a reputation that he can do this and his movies make a ton of money. So Hong Kong is like, take all the money and kill all the extras you need to. Make this movie.
Yeah.
But in America, they're very much like, time is money, blah, blah, blah. Like you don't get like 50 takes to like do like flip a fan the right way, right? If you don't get it by take 3, they're like, we're moving on, you know? So.
Yeah, you know, I'm a huge fan of Jackie Chan. I think the only other person who'd be comparable as far as melding action and comedy would maybe be Stephen Chow.
Yeah.
From like Kung Fu Hustle and Shaolin Soccer. But yeah, Jackie Chan, you know, definitely really was a trailblazer there. I actually have not seen Police Story myself, but I have seen a lot of other Jackie Chan, you know, Rumble in the Bronx, Rush Hour.
Worst. You're just listing all the American ones.
I mean,
all the ones that I just railed against being like, these are not great because American directors don't know how to direct action. And then you're like, and those are the only Jackie Chan movies I've seen.
I think I saw it.
You saw Police Story?
Was there a Kevin in that movie? Is there a Kevin? Okay,
I only remember the Chinese names. I don't remember anybody being called Kevin.
Because I went through a phase in my late teens, like early 20s to mid 40s, where every person I dated was into like
Kevin's?
Kung Fu and like martial arts. So I feel like I remember hearing that in a movie.
Kevin. I don't remember the name
Kevin.
Kevin. Do you remember? Yeah. Okay, so with Police Story.
Don't dishonor my exes, Leonard.
Okay. I was like, you know, we're keeping this. Drunken Master, right? So Jared brings up Drunken Master, which is like a fantastic movie. So there's the first Drunken Master, which I don't think got released in America. That was a Drunken Master 2, I think. They called it Drunken Master 1 and they released it. And Drunken Master 2, by the way, is the best fight scene of all time at the end. So just look it up on YouTube. It's amazing. But yeah, like the thing about like Jackie Chan, like the way he does, because he really understands comedy and action, right? So like with comedy, like what you have to do is you have to give your character a disadvantage. You make them an underdog and they have... You know, they fight their way out of things, you know? And that's what Jackie Chan's doing. He's getting hurt. Right? Remember, like in the 80s, like Schwarzenegger was like the big action star in, you know, and he never got hurt. He never took cover. It made no sense. He's just standing there like with a machine gun and wide open, like just mowing people down in commando. And it's like, you don't want to take cover? Just not even a little? But Jackie Chan's getting the crap beat out of him, and that's amazing, right? That makes it human. That's why, like, I think Die Hard with Bruce Willis was like so... For, you know, it was revolutionary, I guess, even though Jackie Chan been doing it for like a decade. But like, you know, he was getting hurt. He was like an everyman with his like stained wife beater.
Wow.
And divorce.
Yeah, no, he was definitely down on his luck. And yeah, Jackie Chan, just those action sequences, my goodness, like he's doing stuff that like stuntmen wouldn't even do, and he's like the star of the movie.
That's why he has a hole in his head. When he was filming this movie called Armor of God, he did this stunt where he had to like do a like pole vault
Wow.
across this cliff, and then it didn't work out, and he didn't make it. And he landed, hit his head, and like it broke his skull. So now there's a hole in his skull where you can. It's like a bowling ball. You can like stick your finger in his skull.
Our friends at the Sonar Network say Schwarzenegger would easily be destroyed by Jackie Chan, which I definitely believe. Like, you know what, you can be as strong as you want, but if you can't move fast enough to lay a finger on someone, then that strength completely goes to waste.
Yeah.
Now, heading over to Veronica, what are your 5 favorite Asian movies of all time, and why? And why did these movies make your list?
5 top Asian movies for me. Favorite: Joy Luck Club, Crazy Rich Asians. More recently, Raya and the Last Dragon, Yellow Rose. I hope that's what it's called. Anyways, and
Yeah, it was actually called Kevin.
I know, Kevin, and Mulan, the first one, the animated one.
Oh, not the recent
No,
Disney.
not the recent one.
Abomination.
Yeah.
let's call
Yes.
it.
I know.
I liked it. Okay. Anyway, this list isn't about me, but I did like the live action one. But back to Veronica.
Yeah. And why? I mean, they're really different from Leonard's, but for me, look, there's a lot of chicks in these movies. A lot of chicks. I never say that. Anyhow, there's a lot of.
It's very feminist of you.
I know. There's a lot of women in these movies, and the characters of the women in these movies, I think, are very, like, they're pretty close representations, I have to say. Yellow Rose is like, that's my only Filipino one I had to represent.
Oh yeah, I was not familiar with that movie.
She wants to be a country singer, but they don't really talk about her race, which I think is interesting. And that's why I like
Was this released in the Philippines?
No, it's I don't know, somewhere. I don't even know how I found it, but it is my favorite. I'm not really backing this claim up very well, am I?
Yeah, you're not even sure what the name of the movie
I
is.
know. No, I'm pretty sure it's Yellow Rose. It's Yellow Rose. I know. Discount her. Anyways, and then Joy Luck Club. That's like OG chick flick movie for Asians. I was like, what? I skipped school. I was already 20, but I mean, I was also still in school.
And so let's dig deeper into one of those movies. I think you had said prior that the movie you want to dig deeper into is Joy Luck Club, and what was it about that movie that out of all movies of all time, even of your top 5, this is the one that has impacted you?
Because it was the first one, the first North American Asian movie, just Asian women, not like Long Duck Dong in 16 Candles, right? Like
that was pretty racist.
That
but
was
at least he
right.
was played by an Asian, so that was progress.
I mean, who's wearing a toilet paper diaper?
Progress.
It's just
Oh Lord.
Yeah, and like the thing is I'm old enough to be like, what is this? I don't see myself. So Joy Luck Club was something where, like, that's what you do at around that age. You're watching these like romantic comedies, chick flick type movies, and here's one for Asians. I was like, yeah, it was just the first one where I saw it, and then of course it took so many years for Crazy Rich Asians to come along. I don't know. I honestly thought when I saw it that it was like the beginning of seeing more consistent representation, and I was like, okay, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I actually think it was a good lesson for everyone, because I think quite a few people thought that would be the beginning, that would be a spark of a movement, and it just goes to show now that we have this opportunity of what's happening with Crazy Rich Asians, Shang-Chi, and everything that's going on, that it's not just going to happen. We are going to have to take the baton and run with it as hard as we can for as long as we can. And, hopefully that'll make things change forever, but it's definitely not guaranteed. Now for me, Joy Luck Club, what I loved was it was about, Asian women, and how they relate to each other across different generations, mother to daughter, friend to friend, daughter to auntie, whether the aunt was like a literal aunt or just a friend of your mom's.
Yes.
I still
They're
don't
the
know.
same.
With like
Exactly.
half of the older Asian women who have come to my household, I was like, am I actually related to them?
Yes.
Are they my actual aunt, or I just call them that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the movie was when I saw it, I just thought, wow, this is so complex that I feel like if I was reading the book, I would never think they would adapt it because there's so many timelines, so many eras they have to replicate, so many stories they have
that's
to
good.
weave that, just from a writing a script perspective, that'd be difficult. And then for the production team to have to plan out all these storylines where basically each backstory is an entirely different set of actors that that you have to build, which is why it works for a book and not so much for a film. Like for films, usually, if you're doing, if you're doing flashback scenes, but like multiplied by 4 women, and each of those women backstories has an entirely new, setting and an entirely new like cast. It's pretty overwhelming what they were able to achieve in this
Yeah.
movie, and I think
What was
it's
their budget?
monumental.
They did it.
Now I want to look it up.
Yeah, they did it really well, and because I read the book before I saw the movie, and so I was like, this is just as good. Like it was so, and really, it's not just because it was like the first movie. Yes, but it was a really good movie. I literally, I swear that's my family. Why am I looking around like they're around the corner? But that's
They
what
made
it
that.
is.
They made that movie for $10.5 million.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive, considering like they had like a
It
billion
is,
different
yeah.
sets. Like I guess it helps that like none of the actors probably cost a lot.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That is
There's no
true.
Asian Julia
Damn it.
Roberts.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll give my list now. So my top 5 favorite Asian movies of all time is My Sassy Girl. I know that is not a favorite of the other panelists on here, but
If anybody's seen it, it makes no like it just. I want to hear if you've seen it in the comments. Please
Yeah.
say something. I want to know what your opinion is on this insane movie. Lucy Liu. Yeah, I guess she's about as close as we're gonna get.
Yeah. How about?
thank you for that comment, Red Jayway. So my 5 movies are My Sassy Girl, Spirited Away, the original Godzilla, but actually I think Shin Godzilla, which came out not too long ago, is also really good. Kung Fu Hustle,
Okay.
and Ringu. Thank you, Red Jayway, for loving My Sassy Girl. Y'all, if y'all go back to the episode of our podcast where we reviewed it, I was getting wrecked by the other two.
That also might have been the same podcast where you were making fun of the poet.
Yeah, Amanda Gorman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were getting
Amanda
revenge on me
Gorman.
because I didn't like Amanda Gorman's poem that she read at Joe Biden's inauguration. She was the poet laureate. Anyway, they were getting revenge on me. But so for people who don't know, My Sassy Girl is a South Korean movie. This was before, being viral and on the internet and everything. And this was honestly before Asian culture had much penetration or, to be honest, much respect within the rest of Asia. It was just sort of this new thing. And My Sassy Girl was such a big hit. People were like passing it out on like VHSs to my parents on DVDs. Like this was like way old school. It took over all of Asia and everywhere else that there was Asians. My Sassy Girl, look it up. They've remade it as a TV show that's running right now in South Korea. They remade it in Hollywood as this hideously awful thing. I think it was started
With Elisha Cuthbert.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yeah, it did not make sense. If you take away the cultural references, it really doesn't make sense.
I mean, let's be honest. It didn't make sense with the cultural references. Fault.
Yeah.
That movie made no sense.
That's
no sense.
Okay, Veronica and Leonard are literally the only two Asians I've ever met who did not love My Sassy Girl.
no.
It literally changed Asian cinema.
No.
All of these movies now from South Korea, like, Parasite, and it just, honestly, it would not be possible without My Sassy Girl. It was the one that really gained respect for South Korean cinema. Now I'm going to move on because that actually isn't the movie that I'm going to jump into. Out of my 5, I'm actually going to choose Spirited Away. And Studio Ghibli movie. It was a huge hit in North America. I think it was nominated for Best Film that year, and I'm not sure if they had Best Animated Film category yet, but something tells me that they did, and it actually won. But regardless of if it won, it was nominated for best overall film, which is amazing. In Japan and in the rest of Asia, Studio Ghibli is considered, the Disney of Asia, and Spirited Away was just, it was just a great story of a young girl who gets whisked away to this magical kingdom, and she goes through this journey, and comes out a different person, which, as far as character arcs go, it is the classic hero's journey. But what I love about it is it really brought in a lot of elements of Japanese storytelling, that for people who don't watch Japanese film, or read, manga or watch anime, all these concepts would be brand new to them, but they were able to introduce it in a way that really made a lot of sense. Like, sort of that idea of a hotel for wandering spirits. That's like very common. That's very common. That's a very common concept for the Japanese, and so for them to be able to use that and incorporate it, and the way they incorporated different spirits, and honestly, just the beauty of the film. I see Tina Whitecastle mentioning that it's beautiful on all levels, and it is just the animation, the hand-drawn animation is just amazing. Like, honestly, I love Studio Ghibli so much that instead of Vong Show, I almost made my stage name Studio Vong. But I loved it so much. Obviously, I didn't go with that, but that is literally how much I love this film. Now, what were your thoughts on Spirited Away?
So, I haven't seen it, and
Okay,
well, you're off the show now.
I know.
You're off the show.
And thank you. However, I have an 8-year-old and a 25-year-old, 24, and they both saw it. So they filled me in.
So they're better than you, is what
I know. They filled me in,
saying.
and this is what I can contribute. Yeah, it's really cool. I liked it, and so did Quentin, her brother. So that's
review.
My contribution. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know what's cool? So, like, Miyazaki is a master, right? And then if you look at, like, on the American side, like with Pixar, they're also incredibly good storytellers. And John Lasseter, who works for Pixar, like, basically anytime he's like runs into like problems with story, he like basically makes his staff watch Miyazaki films. And so anyways, he loved this movie so much, he actually convinced Disney to like buy the rights and like do the whole thing. So he like oversaw like the release of Spirited Away to American audiences. And fun fact, I'm old, so I don't know if anybody here remembers the Bob Newhart show.
I do.
I do, yeah.
Remember Suzanne Pleshette?
Yes.
Suzanne Pleshette, Spirited Away was her last role in film before she passed away.
Oh.
The American version, obviously.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. Trivia.
Trivia.
Yeah, no, it's it definitely left its mark on, not just on Asian cinema but worldwide, and it was really great seeing the recognition that it got. Now we're going to take a very short break, and after the break we are going to do our debate question of the week. So what we do every week is we take a theme plucked out of the movie that we're reviewing, and then we then debate that topic in the second half of the show. But because we're not reviewing a movie this week, we're talking about the best movies of all time, our debate question is going to be broader. So this week's debate question will be about, the role that Asian films and Asians in films have played in our own sense of identity and sense of belonging, and how that influences overall films and film culture. We will be right back. And okay, we are right back. For those,
That was a short break.
Yeah, for those who are live, it's a very short break. For those who are listening it on as a podcast, not live streaming it, you might have just had to listen to some amazing ads from our sponsors for about 2.5 minutes, and we are very happy that they all support us and buy advertising. So go out and buy their products. Okay, so now on to the broader question. Let's start with Leonard. What role has Asian film and Asians in films played in your own identity and sense of belonging?
Well, the interesting thing is so I grew up in North America, so I was mostly watching North American films, and therefore there weren't a lot of Asians in North American films. And the ones that there were primarily stereotypes, like sidekicks and, math nerds and, long duck dong or whatever. And it was ridiculous. So the only Asian movie that I actually got was when I would go downtown to Chinatown. I'd go to the theater down there, and I would watch some Asian movies with my cousin or whatever, right? But because I was inundated with Western culture, I never really, I basically I saw myself more, I would have to learn to identify with white people, basically, right? And so then, and when I started writing, when I became a writer, the first movies I wrote, no Asian characters, just all white people, because I had it in my brain. I was just well, if I put an Asian character into this, it'll never get made.
Oh no.
Right? Tragic. Yeah. So it's funny because I'm going back now and I'm looking at all these old screenplays I wrote, and I'm just which one of these can I rewrite with an all Asian cast? Right? And make this, and because it doesn't, it was ridiculous. Anyways, so I never really saw myself on screen, and therefore, I just had to identify with white people. And it's funny because as writers, especially now, there's a lot of talk about we ought to be authentic and so on and so forth, right? And just looking at how Kim's Convenience went down, it was so systemic. It was a systemic problem that brought down Kim's Convenience, because the showrunner was the only Asian in that room most of the time. Right? Every now and then, I was in there for a week or two. I had some other Asian friends in there for a week or two, but that was it. Right? And then, so when the showrunner, the Korean showrunner was I'm done, he put 10 years into this thing. That makes sense. He leaves, right? But then there was nobody to take over. There was no Asian at that level who could take over. And then as a result, it's gone. Right? Yeah. And I think that's I don't know, man. For me, now things are starting to change, but I think, you said before, Vong, we just got to push. Crazy Rich Asians. I remember crying at that movie because I was oh my God, this is what it feels to be represented. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is what white people feel all the time.
They don't even know.
Yeah, they take it for granted. Yeah. So I don't
sometimes
know.
you don't know what you're missing until it happens to you. Like
Yeah.
so much of Asian representation is it's something you don't know you want until you see it, and then you
Yeah.
have like this emotional reaction breakdown.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why it's so important, and hopefully the new generation can get that a little bit earlier
Yes.
than where we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching Crazy Rich Asians. At the end, they had the mahjong scene. Are we doing spoilers here? I don't know how this works.
Yeah, full spoilers. Full spoilers, you have been warned.
Okay, so there's this mahjong scene, which, you know, I'm not even going to really spoil it, but there's a scene with mahjong where the main character uses mahjong as a metaphor that plays out to describe how she's going to deal with like the whole how the situation is resolved, whatever. And I remember thinking, I was like, this is really cool. I mean, they got the mahjong totally wrong, like where it was like, well, this would never happen in real life, but I understood what they were trying to do, and they were trying to honor mahjong. And I asked my white wife, because I'm taking one back for the team, and I asked her if she understood. She was like, no. And I was like, finally,
Haha,
you're
yay.
watching a movie where you don't understand the cultural significance of what's happening. How do you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, you know, like
Yeah.
the role Asian films and Asian representation in film has played in my life it's been interesting because I grew up in a neighborhood basically full of Asians. Like we had in my elementary school, it was like a school of 1,000, and it was 80% Asian. We had one white kid, and we used to beat him up every day. So I didn't really feel the need to have the representation because I just had it all around me.
Yeah.
And, you know, unlike a lot of my friends who were on the opposite end, where they were the one Asian kid in a whole school of white people, and they were getting beat up every day. Like, I think it's really important for them. I'm not saying representation is not important for me. It's just, I was really lucky because like my dad, growing up, he was like president of the Lao Association. You know, we weren't allowed to speak English at home. He really wanted us to like learn our culture. I was like put in Muay Thai lessons when I was young. I was, you know, always surrounded by other Lao people, Thai people, Chinese people. And even the films that we watched, you know, we'd have, you know, all of that, I don't want to say illegal, like, you know, those,
The bootlegs.
Yeah,
like the Pacific Mall bootlegs.
yeah.
Or whatever the Winnipeg version of Pacific Mall is.
Yeah, bootleg movies, bootleg satellite feeds.
Yeah.
So I actually did grow up with a lot of representation. It didn't come from North America. It came from, you know, my parents in the Asian community, which is why, you know, when Leonard was talking about, you know, not really having those same type of influences, it kind of makes sense because, you know, I will say Leonard and Veronica are the only two I've ever met Asians who have never heard of my Sassy Girl. So I'm just gonna put that out there, but because it was so major, it was called the Titanic of Asian cinema. Anyway,
Well.
and
I mean, it was a bit of a disaster.
but yeah, so but even me. Even with all the representation I had, even with how proud I was to be Asian my whole life, even I still had like a huge reaction to Crazy Rich Asians, and just seeing it because it was the first time that it wasn't like a bootleg Asian DVD. It was like in theaters. It was getting covered in the newspaper. It was like we're the talk of the town. And honestly, ever since then, like just on a whole selfish front, like all my bookings have gone up. My interview requests have really gone up. I'm riding that wave. You know, there's a reason why this podcast is a Rice Asian Movies podcast. That would not be the case if it wasn't for Crazy Rich Asians. It really did build up this appetite for Asian-led films.
I had a friend who he watched Crazy Rich Asians, and he's not athletic. He's Asian, but he's not athletic at all. And then he was watching Crazy Rich Asians, and he came away. He was like, "Is this what it feels like when people like are rooting for a sports team and they feel pride?" I was like, "Yeah, kind of."
Yeah.
It's like when the Raptors won, I was very much like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And that was the same thing, Crazy Rich Asians. Just you feel the pride,
Yeah, you do.
right?
You
Pride
do.
that you
Yeah.
didn't know existed. Because
Yeah.
it's because you're not, especially like as Asians, like we're not really taught to be like, we deal in shame, not pride.
Yeah. Shame is our game.
That's our game.
So good at it, too.
Right? I mean, Catholics have guilt. We have shame.
Jeez.
And nothing gets done in Asian culture without a healthy dose of shame.
Yeah.
Like that drives everything.
I literally just got a pit in my stomach right now. I just I have to pray tonight.
Oh no! Oh
Yeah,
no!
yeah.
Okay, but a perfect time to go over to Veronica while you were vulnerable and likely to share things you wouldn't otherwise.
What would that be?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I just know as an interviewer, you go in for the kill. This is like the Diane Sawyer, Britney Spears interview. You see the girl about to cry. You know.
make Veronica cry.
I'm gonna, take me
cry.
That's so easy.
Yeah. So Veronica, over to you. What role has Asian film and Asians in film played in your own identity and sense of belonging?
Listen, I grew up with kids in a wealthy area. And
A wealthy area?
a wealthy area.
Yes. That is the antithesis
I was
of
in
where
the-
Vong grew up.
Yes, it
Which
is.
is the
It
ghetto
is.
of Winnipeg.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, murder capital of Canada. It
No,
was like
not mine.
legitimately the ghetto.
Yeah.
But okay, over to
No,
Veronica.
mine was the opposite. It was like literally, there was no representation. So I remember having dolls, and I wanted my name to be Susan because I thought that was more white
Oh.
than Veronica, and I wanted to be blonde, and there was the only Asian representation I had was in my immediate surroundings,
Wait, you wanted to be blonde?
and yeah,
You want to be Betty, not Veronica.
no, I wanted to be Veronica, but I wanted to be Susan, if we're going to be accurate, and have blonde hair. And I don't know. I just wanted to be white, I think. And that's the thing I didn't know. I was like, I think I just wanted whatever it is, whatever that vibe was, they were able to walk with, and I was not.
Oh, trust
there.
funds.
Yes. And I was like,
That's the vibe.
I want to move in the world like that. Like I sensed it very early. So
Yeah.
the Joy Luck Club, I was already 20 or something when I saw that, and I was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna have our time finally," and then we didn't, and I had to wait 20 more years to see representation. I'm like, I'm gonna just get it in there. These last few years of my life, I'm gonna get it in.
The last few years.
Gonna get it in.
That's so dark.
I know.
Okay, so last question to wrap it up, and I'll throw this out to the entire panel. We've talked about our sense of belonging and individual identity, but broadening the question, what is the past, present, and future of Asian representation in film, and how do you think that will contribute to Asian identity as a whole, so broader, beyond just us?
Well, I mean, I think the more Asians can see themselves on screen doing things that they wouldn't be able to do, I think the more it's inspiring for them to go forth and do things that aren't the things we're expected to do.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. We're comedians. That's not expected. Right? We're supposed to be engineers and accountants and doctors and whatever. Which, by the way, made no sense that Grey's Anatomy had no Asian doctors except for Sandra Oh. But none of the other ones were they should have been 90% Asian. If you've never been in hospital, you should know this. Anyways,
Yeah, I'm just not to rein in on stereotypes, but two of the three panelists on this show went to engineering school prior to becoming comedians. So
Not me.
but yeah, I think being able to see, I think the superhero thing is going to be great. With Simu as a superhero. And I have some issues with the fact that the Asian superhero's superpower is martial arts, but whatever. we gotta start somewhere. But I think it's important, you get to see yourself on screen, especially for younger kids, right? Because, in our day, Veronica, and Vong, we're a little bit older. We got Joy Luck Club.
That's it.
And that was it for 20 years.
That's
Before that,
years.
you know, like we weren't even allowed to play Asians. Right? Like Breakfast at Tiffany's, you had Mickey Rooney playing the Asian. And and the funny thing is before
Dragon Ball Evolution.
Right, Dragon Ball Evolution, which so I think it's important. I think it's important that that young Asians can see themselves represented on screen, because then it speaks to the possibilities that they have in their lives.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have a joke where I talk about how it's great that we have a superhero, but Asians will have truly made it when we're on the front page of Pornhub.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Now, so the thing for me with representation as a whole is, I think, there has been a breakthrough in Hollywood, and as Leonard mentioned, the breakthrough is that Asians are being cast to play Asian characters in lead roles. And this sounds like basic, but this is a very recent development. And I know people like to, rag on Scarlett Johansson, but it's so much cheaper, because at least Scarlett Johansson, you can make the argument that, she brings in box office or whatever. But where it's really insulting is when there really is no reason, that little white kid in The Last Airbender, you can't tell me he was a box office draw. Are you freaking kidding me? There's no reason not to cast an Asian monk. A freaking monk is going to be this little white kid. And then
that was the worst.
And then Dragon Ball Evolution. These are very recent movies. Even if you broaden it beyond Asians with representation as a whole, with the Hunger Games with Jennifer Lawrence, and I know she doesn't get as much flack as Scarlett Johansson, but if you read the books, it is very clear that the upper class are meant to be blonde hair, light skinned, blue eyes, and the Hunger Games, the oppressed people, are described as dark hair, olive skin, gray features. It's very clear the oppressed are people of color, and they totally whitewash that. And so, it's just this history. And at the time, she was not a box office draw. So another example of, bringing somebody in that, you can't even say that it's commercially driven. It's just, if all things being equal, they're not going to cast an Asian or a person of color. Like Hunger Games, honestly, the description really sounds like an Indigenous woman. And to have an Indigenous woman lead that movie would have been huge for Hollywood. She would probably be as big as Jennifer Lawrence is right now. Yeah. And it almost made me feel like Jennifer Lawrence stole her career. And I love Jennifer Lawrence, but girl, you know what? So all I'm saying is it's more than Scarlett Johansson. I will say too, the other thing that is really important to me is representation behind the camera. And this is really important. So what really upset me with the reboot of Mulan, the live action one, and I actually really, really love the reboot. I know some people don't, but you know what? All Asian actors, but not a single Asian producer, writer, or director. And it wasn't like they just had one of each. I think there were four producers, 5 writers, only one director. But it's wow, that was really obnoxious. And then you go to Shang-Chi, and great. Now we've made progress. All Asian cast, Asian director, or half Japanese director. 2 of the 3 writers are of Asian descent, but it's still a story adapted and modernized from a character that was created in the 70s by a white writer and a white artist based on Asian stereotypes. And they've done their best to modernize it, but it's still an adaptation of a piece that is so foundationally racist and stereotypical that removing the racism still doesn't make it representative. It makes it better, but it still doesn't make it representative. So what I'm really looking forward to is, and listen, everybody involved in that project, love them to bits, Simu Liu, huge outspoken advocate for the Asian community. So if anybody can make it worthwhile watching, it's going to be that creative team. So I just want to say that because Simu Liu has been, really great to Rice and Rice Asian comedy. So listen, I'm not talking about any of the creatives. If anybody can make it great, it's going to be that team, and I'm looking forward to it. But it still has foundations and was created by an all-white team that was trying to capitalize on the kung fu martial arts craze. And this was their caricature of Asians. And like I said, even if you remove the racism, like, his dad was Fu Manchu, for goodness sake, you can remove Fu Manchu, but does that, it makes it better. It makes it less racist. But, so what I'm really looking for is like Asian characters written by Asians from the beginning. And that's what, keeping on the superhero front, I'm really, really looking forward to Miss Marvel, which is a new TV show. It's going to be on Disney Plus, and that was written and created by a Pakistani woman. And, it's Marvel's very first Muslim superhero. And like I said, it's not an adaptation of what a white person thinks of a Muslim. It's a Muslim person writing about a Muslim experience, and then they cast Muslims in the role. And you just can't get that if the foundation is so broken. Like, and like I said, I'm going to get into trouble because I love everybody involved in Shang-Chi, and I'm excited to see it. But am I more excited for Miss Marvel? Yes, because it was created by an Asian woman. And to me, that speaks more true than, than building on the foundation of, white guys from the 70s.
No, we're going with Red J Way's suggestion, which is that, Vong, you have to write and direct a film adaptation of your Magneto and Professor X erotic fan fiction. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm not in the movie, but I'll write. I'll help write. I'll write a scene.
Yeah, for those who weren't here for the beginning of this live stream, it was I was being interviewed by CBC News earlier today, and the topic was about Asian representation in superhero films. So I sort of prepared myself for that, and they then started asking me about gay representation in superheroes, and I was just like, I would love to talk about that, but I can't think of any gay superheroes. And I was like, it was on the spot, and so yeah, the only thing I could think of was to talk about my weird in my brain fan fiction of of Magneto and Professor X, and so thank you, Red J-Way, for that, and yeah, the Sonar Network, thanks for commenting of saying
nice callback
that it'll make the first page of porn. It probably would, because you're tying the known to the unknown. Yeah.
Now, do you think Magneto would take off the helmet?
Oh my God, rice porn.
No, he would not.
Oh,
he's okay. Listen,
because it's safe sex, right? You got to stay protected. You got to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
I have always seen myself as more Magneto than Professor X.
Yeah.
In
Malcolm X versus MLK, I can see that.
Yeah, and from and one of my best friends is more like a Professor X kind of real life character, and we're both in human rights, and we really push our messages in different ways, and so there's a respect level there, but he likes to work through the system, and I'd rather build strength from within. Like, I'd rather help to elevate and inspire Asians as opposed to ask white people for permission. I'm like, no, I'm not going to say please open the door. I'm going to make it so popular that they're going to be like, hey, what's going on over there? And I respect what he does. But anyway, this
is like a probably much more socially conscious segue into fucking than the pizza delivery guy.
But
we'll do it. Let's do it. I'm good.
Yeah. And call it rice porn.
Yeah, so and I won't get into it too much or too much more in here, but it did really get me thinking, like, wow, as much as I'm upset at the lack of Asian representation, like, wow, there actually is like zero gay representation in the superhero genre. I was like, that's really sad. I should really look that up some more. But anyway, let's head on over to Veronica to close the segment on your thoughts about overall representation, where we're heading.
Well, let's keep it going this time. And by who's accountable for that? Well, we know who we can't count on for that. So I think, each one of us is accountable for pushing further ahead because, like I said, I saw like a tiny little surge 20 something years ago. This feels like a surge again, but is it just a surge, or are we gonna level up? That's the thing. And we know who is in charge of making those decisions now, or we perceive them as making the decisions. But I'm like, listen, something has to change. It's 2021 now. Like, let's push. Yeah. Let's push forward.
The new head of scripted television at CBC is an Asian woman.
There you go.
There you go. And you know what? So this is sort of what I mean about like being more Magneto than Professor X. I think the real change is to have like, Asian, Asian studio heads, like Asians in real positions of power to be able to make decisions instead of asking straight white guys in those positions to, please open up, please try and be a little bit more understanding of the importance of diversity. I'm like, no, let's get rid of those hoes and replace them with Asians. And like, I'm so over the top on this. Like, so I was actually reprimanded in HR when I actually used to work for Can West, and I was on their executive team, and I hired, this is how over the top I am with being like Magneto. Like, I hired 19 Asians in a row. One of the other managers complained, saying like I was racially profiling. I was like, whatever. I was like, it was crazy because even with me being so over the top with my hiring practices, we were still so under indexed that, they were upset when it happened. But then when we had to do a diversity report, guess whose team got like splashed on the goddamn front page, being paraded out as their example, all the while they're mad at me saying I'm quote unquote extreme for hiring 19 straight Asians.
Yeah.
Wait, were the 19 straight Asians or 19 Asians
19
straight?
Asians in a row. Obviously, I try to do good for my LGBTQ out there. But you know what? It's like nobody would have any qualms about seeing 19 white people hired in a row. That's just normal.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you know what? This is what I'll say with Asians. Get in positions of power, and when you're there, abuse it, because other people abuse that shit. Keeping it real.
That was some misdirection right there. I was like,
I
what?
love it. More heads of networks, more Asian heads. And by the way, that is exactly what we're going to say about the Magneto Professor X erotic fan fiction. More Asian head.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, sorry, Veronica, I cut you off.
I was just going to say, like, take that surge and keep it going.
and abuse power.
Yes. I try to soften it. It's too late now.
Use it while you can. Like, I know people think I'm kidding about being like.
Oh, he's not
Magneto
at all.
No, like here, I'll drop something. Very few people know this, but I've got a solo album coming out at the end of the year, and it's titled Yellow Supremacist. So I'll lean into this shit. Like, I don't care. I am way overly biased about Asians. I will always promote Asians above everything, and y'all can hate me for it, but I'm trying to empower and uplift my own people, and if that upsets people, I don't really care, because sometimes you need these guerrilla tactics. You can't just negotiate your way to the top. It's sort of like that, what was that Last Jedi quote, let the past die, kill it if you must. And, not physically kill, because obviously, but like, make your way into those boardrooms and then abuse that power. Do it. It's the only way.
Yeah. Can we
No,
put that?
what?
Can we put that up on the screen? Like that's and then just yeah.
That is the Jedi way. That is the Jedi way. Like I said, I am not going to waste my time talking to the Harvey Weinsteins of the world and say, oh, please stop being like as racist as you are. Hell no, they're never going to learn. They're never going to learn. The only way is to change the decision makers. And because let's just be honest. Asians wield a lot of economic power. So let's use that power to get into positions of power and then make goddamn decisions and not feel sorry about it, because none of these Harvey Weinstein bitches have ever felt sorry about their decisions. Okay? Well, maybe he feels sorry now because he's like in jail and half dead. But before that, until very recently, yeah. Oh, I think your mic is off, Leonard. I think I shouted so much that I broke your mic.
Yeah. I was saying Scott Rudin. It's more recent and less illegal. Because with Harvey Weinstein, clearly that abuse of power is not okay, and we do not condone that whatsoever.
Yes.
But feel free to abuse an intern, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, wait, no.
No.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm not saying become the next Harvey Weinstein. I'm saying boot out the Harvey Weinstein.
There you go.
Challenge power.
Abuse power in order to give power. You're like the Robin Hood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Abuse power to give power to those who don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay, honestly, I think I've gotten myself into trouble like 5 separate times on this, so I'm just gonna close it here. Thanks to our panelists Veronica Antipolo and Leonard Chan. Thank you so much to Bad Dog Comedy TV for hosting this live stream. Thank you to the Sonar Network. We're so excited to join such a wonderful collection and collaboration of talented our award-winning artists and podcasters. You can find us now on the sonarnetwork.com, where you can find all of the other Sonar Network wonderful award-winning podcasts. I'm Vong Show, official spokesperson for Gay Super Cute Asians, and that's what's up.